start by asking that, do you know that a person that has no rights or has ownership over your property can actually get ownership of that property if they've stayed for a particular period of time on that land and you do not interrupt them? Yes, they can actually do that, and it is the law agrees with them. So this is why it's important for everybody to know, especially property owners, that you should be aware of the principle of adverse possession. So today's session we're going to be talking about adverse possession, how to safeguard your property against adverse possession and adverse possessors. So adverse possession is basically a doctrine of law that allows people, a person, let's say a squatter for instance, who has been in possession of your property or land for a period of time without any interruption or without any query from you, where you are aware of this. So basically it means that if a particular person is in possession of your land or your property, if peradventure you have a property at a particular place and for a period of time, in Nigeria it's usually 12 years, so let's say for about 12 years and above, that person has been on that land, has been either living on that land, built on that land, or farming or anything, basically being in possession of that land for a period of like 12 years, and you are aware of this but you do not ask the person to leave or query the person can actually legally get the title and ownership of that land. So that's basically what adverse possession is, and it's a thing that has been going on for quite a very long time, but some people are not aware of this and suddenly when it arises and the person has taken possession or ownership of that land, they get extremely angry and act and say the law is being unfair or against them. Well, this is basically a doctrine or principle that is trying to help, or should I say, trying to make you, the landowner or property owner, to not slip off on your rights. That is the right of fighting or getting ownership of your land back from the squatter or the adverse possessor. Basically, law says that basically a person that owns a land, that has the original ownership, should be able to get his land back, right? But when it comes to adverse possession, because that person has been on that particular land or property for a period of more than 12 years and you are aware and you did not do anything, you slept on your rights, and then you decide that one day you wake up and say that, okay, this person needs to leave the land, I don't want you to stay in this land again. You can't just come up and say that, because the person has the rights of ownership, because you knew that was going on. You did not disturb the person, you did not ask the person to leave or try and do anything against the person staying there. So you can't just wake up one morning and remember that, oh, you have a property somewhere, this person, it's time for you to go. No, the law is against that. So for a person to actually claim adverse possession, for the squatter or the adverse possessor to actually claim ownership of that land, there are some requirements that act of possession should meet. The first one is that the person should have been there for a continuous period of time. Like I said earlier on, the specific period of time for this in Nigeria is 12 years. So once a person has been on that land, and by continuous, I mean like you actually have to have been there for 12 years or more. Meaning you can't say you've been there for like 5 years, then a year you left, then you came back and continued. No, it has to be a continuous long run of 12 years and more. And I don't mean like you have to actually be there every hour. I mean like you are in possession, you are actually on that land for 12 years. Either maybe you have built a building or you are farming on that land. Just make sure that you are on that land for 12 years. That and more, that alone is a requirement. Another thing that the person could raise is that they are the possession is hostile. Hostile in the sense that it is without the consent of the owner of the property. That is, if you are aware as the owner of the property that this person that is if you, the squatter, stay on that land without consent, like without permission from the the owner of the property. That is another requirement, because you can't have the consent of the owner of the property and then claim adverse possession later on. No. Another one is that it must be actual, in the sense that you must actually have been in possession of that land, not that you are planning to or you'd want to. You have to have actually been in possession of that land. Another thing is that it must be open and notorious. Open and notorious in the sense that you must act as the owner, like you're actually the owner, and people would be aware. That means the landowner too, the original landowner too, should be aware that okay, you are actually on this land, you actually have possession of this property, you've actually been here for this particular period of time. Another one is that it must be exclusive. That means the possessor possesses the land for himself, not for another person, or you are taking possession because someone else is for someone. No, that the possession must be exclusively you. That is, you are the one who has been in possession of that land, not for a particular person. So once a person is able to claim all these requirements, the person has the right to actually get ownership, original ownership, legal ownership of that particular land. So you as a landowner, what are the things that you can do to protect your property from these adverse possessors? Because it's a thing that's kind of rampant, but most people don't talk about it. So one of the things that you should actually do is regularly inspect your property. You should not leave your land lying down. You should not leave your property just lying there. You should consciously and constantly inspect the land and property. If peradventure you are not in the country, say you're in another country and you can't physically do that, you should have someone that you should delegate that would go into the land to just inspect it, just to be sure that there are no trespassers or any squatter or any other person. Another thing that you can do to actually safeguard your property is to make sure your property is fenced and gated. So some people, you notice that there are some lands that have no development on them at all, but they are fenced and they are gated. This is just a way of wearing off squatters and trespassers. So that's another way to safeguard. Another one is posting no trespassing signs on your property, because clearly this is marking your property, helping you to prevent others from claiming adverse possession, because it is going to clearly stated there. Another way is maintaining good communications with your neighbors. So you might not be able to be physically present to actually investigate or to regularly check on your property. So a good thing you can do is have your neighbors communicate with them. Okay, so how is the property, how is it, hope there is nobody there, hope it's safe, is that. So once you are able to communicate with your neighbors and they can give you updates, peradventure there's someone on the land, they can give you updates and let you know that okay, this is what is actually going on, and you can act upon it. Another thing is for you to take legal action when necessary. This means that once you notice that there's a trespasser or a squatter or anybody on your land, you don't really have to go to court immediately. You can actually take legal actions, like asking your lawyer to give notice to the person that the person should leave the property. Another way to actually safeguard your property is to offer rent to the person. If peradventure someone is already squatting on your land and you are aware of this, you can actually meet the person and offer rent and say, okay, so maybe I'm not actually ready to build, or I'm not actually ready to do anything with this property, but you can stay for this particular period of time for this social amount. Or you could just have a written agreement with the person that okay, you can actually stay on this property for this particular period of time. If that is done, then the person cannot, no matter how long they stay, cannot come again to say that okay, they want to claim adverse possession of the land or property. Another thing is to have a title document and a survey plan of that property. The survey plan shows your property and marks it out from separately from other ones. So once you have a detailed survey plan that is able to give the appropriate details of your land or property, that way no one can come and claim a land or property that has your title, that you have title document to, and is already marked as yours. And another thing is to also act fast. Like I said earlier on, you should never sleep on your right as a landowner to chase away anybody that is trespassing or that is squatting on your property. Immediately you are aware that okay, this is going on, you should act fast towards it, take the relevant steps to ward away this person, or probably make an agreement with the person to stay for a particular period of time. So in conclusion, the law allows for a person who has been in possession of a particular land for a continuous period of time, for in Nigeria 12 years, to take actual ownership, to have actual ownership of that land, where you, the original owner, are aware of this and you did not ward away or chase away or query the person from staying on that particular land. So it is important as property owners for you to do this, to safeguard your land and property from every person that seems to be a squatter or a trespasser in your property. I hope we're able to learn one or two things today. Have a lovely day, everyone.